Hi, I'm Wallace Allen. This is Empire Talks Back. We're going to be speaking with Ms. Deborah Williams, the expert on disaster preparedness, and the information she's got to give us is going to be very different today than it would have been 2 weeks ago prior to the disaster that took place in the Bahamas with this recent hurricane. Things we have to prepare for, go get your coffee, come right back after this break. We'll get into the conversation. Thank you.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be earthquake next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So,
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Hi, I'm Wallace Allen. This is Empire Talks Back, and as I promised, we're going to speak to Ms. Deborah Williams. How are you, Ms. Deborah?
I'm wonderful.
Great. We just had an earthquake, a disaster in the Bahamas, totally different from anything that we've thought about before.
Right.
Island almost totally covered by water. All of the little bags that we could have prepared to take, the little places where we were going to hide supplies and be ready, all of that's gone out the window.
Right.
I understand that your organization, Building Resilient Communities, is involved with a conference that's going to take place called the Arc of Safety.
Right.
Tell us about the Arc of Safety and how that will help us be prepared for, heaven knows, the earthquake, the flood, the rains, whatever may occur to us here in the Inland Empire.
Okay. Well, thank you first of all for allowing me to be here and to share the information because I think especially for California and specifically Southern California, this is just so critical. This is the 7th year that we have hosted or co-hosted the Arc of Safety Forum with Senator Mike Morrell and his office. And the whole purpose of the Arc of Safety Forum is to bring together various agencies, be they from faith or community-based organizations, the government itself, business and education. We bring everybody together, all of the leaders, for a one-day forum to dialogue, get to know each other, and talk about what do we need to do to be prepared and how are we going to respond? Whose role is, sheltering and whose role is donations management and those kinds of things.
The disaster, the hurricane that we just watched.
Right.
What did you see there that has possibly changed any of the approaches or the remedies or suggestions that will be brought up at the Arc of Safety Forum?
You know, I think we constantly teach, be prepared at home. Every household needs to be prepared. What I saw in the Bahamas, some people were prepared, some people were not prepared. They were, in a lot of ways, no different than we are in California. They've had hurricanes before. And so they didn't know if this was going to be a bad one or, what really to believe. That's where we are in California.
With our concept
with our
of
earthquakes and wildfires, and we have floods, maybe not to that degree. But I saw a lot of similarities. The thing that we have taught in the past is be prepared to go. Maybe to a shelter, maybe to friends and families' homes, maybe Northern California or out of state if necessary.
Looking at how difficult and impractical it is to talk about evacuation.
Right, yeah.
Are there any other ideas that we may come up with in order to facilitate safety, facilitate rebuilding the areas that are devastated? I've got some ideas. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, what are you looking at as a solution?
Well, number one, the local governments, be it the city or the town or the unincorporated area, which would be covered by the county, they all have plans already. And so the biggest thing I would say to people is, number one, still get prepared, but be prepared to shelter in place. And I don't, shelter in place may not mean in your home. You may need to get to safety, a safe place, but at least you have all of your own items, your own supplies, so you can take care of yourself. The other thing that I would say is that people need to get some training. They need to understand what's the plan for their neighborhood. So that means talking to their city or their town, talking with their city council or emergency management, and understand, so they understand what's the plan for their particular area. And the other thing I would say when it comes to training is it's always going to be to everyone's benefit to go through what we call CERT training.
CERT.
CERT, Community Emergency Response Team Training. And they're going to get a really phenomenal overview of what emergency management is really all about and what they should be prepared for. But most importantly, they're going to understand a little bit of first aid and CPR. They're going to get some light search and rescue, skills in that. They're also going to get some understanding of the psychology, and the behavior that happens after any kind of a disaster, whether it's a hurricane or a fire, it doesn't really matter.
Or the lady across the street falling down the stairs.
People are traumatized, and so for the average citizen, those are the things I would say they need to do.
How do we get access to that type of training?
That one is really simple. Number one, it's free. And yes, it's 20 hours of training, so it is a commitment.
Okay.
All right.
That's the CERT training.
That's the CERT training, yes. They need to just go on the website for their city or their town or their county.
Now let me ask you this. Relative to the responsibility of a disaster preparedness team, no one wants to go buy insurance.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants to go talk to the doctor about their cancer.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to the city to discuss the potential of disasters
Right.
and how to operate.
Yeah.
How do we reach out to the community and provide this medicine
Yeah.
in some type of a cocktail that they would be happy to take?
Yeah.
The disaster of the weekend,
Yes.
of the week, that type of
Yes.
information and news certainly wakes us up to make us, I think, a bit more susceptible to
Right.
what is it that we can do to prepare and what should our government be doing to prepare. Because as citizens,
Yes.
all of the people in the Bahamas that we were watching, they could have been prepared with their bags, they could have had
Right.
all of their little goodies hidden away to go pick up, but there was no way to go pick them up. The devastation that they were put through was not one that an individual, except a strong and hardy person, could be expected to do much more than attempt to survive in.
Well, and I would also say with the Bahamas, the fact that they're on an island
Yes.
says a lot, and they, here in California, I mean, a lot of times people think that when the earthquake hits the big one, that we're going to become an island.
Well, the island that we would become doesn't necessarily mean we'd be surrounded by water, but
Correct.
being surrounded by devastation that prevents
Right.
transportation
Exactly.
is the same thing.
Yes. And so, when you think about the 15 freeway
The
being
15,
cut
the
off.
210, the
and the
215,
10.
and the 10.
Yes.
In the Inland Empire,
Absolutely.
we're surrounded by those. Those freeways are wonderful as we are trying to come in and get things done.
Right.
But if they were to fall and collapse and no longer be
Yeah.
functional, that they become a wall. They become something that would prevent us from. I'm not a visionary to that extent, so don't get afraid about what I'm saying. I'm just talking.
Well, but you know what? We have to think in those terms at this point. There's an acronym that we use in our training, YOYO, Y-O-Y-O, and people have to understand they will be on their own. So on your own, Y-O-Y-O, YOYO. And I want people to remember that. And in a lot of the information says, be prepared for 3 days. If you look at the devastation that's happened, whether the Bahamas was extreme, But even here, a wildfire or a flood or anything, we need to be prepared to survive on our own without government help, because they may not be able to get there for at least 2 weeks, at least. And I would say that's a minimum.
Well, that's a pretty strong mental obligation for one to set for themselves.
Yes,
How we would do that, once again, need some training.
sure.
And it certainly sounds like we need to be in pretty good physical shape.
Yes.
Might need to start getting up early in the morning and doing our walk and jumping jacks and those things, so that that our bodies would be able to relieve us of some of that mental
Right.
stress that would come along with that. The CERT training, the calling of your government to find out exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
That all sounds good. What are we going to be doing at the Arc of Safety Forum
Okay.
that will help facilitate some of those things? And are there not small groups that people can get involved with, so that we're not looking to the government necessarily, but some
Absolutely.
other community group that we could participate with?
Yeah, one of the things that we really want citizens to do is get connected, get involved, get affiliated with a disaster-related organization. And there's a lot of them out there. Building Resilient Communities is one of those.
That's your organization.
That's our organization.
Tell us how we can get involved with your
Okay,
organization.
so what we're looking for are the people that are able to go out after something does happen, and that they want to get trained in various types of services that can be done. So donations management. One of the things that really happens is as soon
Well,
as a disaster
let
hits.
me interrupt you.
Okay.
Are you trying to find people who have three-wheelers and motorcycles and scooters and little travel devices that would be able to function even if the highways and freeways were not working?
That's great. Yes, absolutely. But it's even the regular person who might be actually in a wheelchair. You know, the person that maybe doesn't have the physical capacity of some of the people that you're mentioning, they can help too. The concept with CERT is there is a role for everyone. The concept with Building Resilient Communities and all of the other agencies is exactly the same. The person on the walker may be able to sit and do the paperwork and sign volunteers in, even though they can't go out into the field.
So your message is that
Everybody.
has a potential service
Absolutely.
that they can provide during an emergency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Attending your Arc of Safety Forum
Yes.
would help make them be more informed of the roles that they may be able
Yes,
to play,
yes.
and put them in touch with local organizations that they could
Yes.
function with in case they happen to be local
Yes.
when an emergency
Right.
occurs.
And one of the key people that we're going to have there speaking is Vance Taylor. And Vance is the lead person in California for people with disabilities and access and functional needs. And that's a really important role. So we've asked him to come down from Sacramento to talk about what does it mean to prepare your facilities, your homes, your houses of worship, wherever it may be, for people who have access and functional needs.
When will the Arc of Safety Forum occur and where?
October 10th at Ecclesia Christian Fellowship
San Bernardino.
here in San Bernardino.
On Date Street.
And the address is 1314 East Date Street. The event is from 9 to 3. And the check-in and continental breakfast is from 8 to 9.
Continental breakfast.
Yes.
Very good.
And lunch is included.
Oh, you know how to get me there, don't
And
you?
it's free.
Deborah, it's a pleasure to talk to you, though the circumstance of preparing isn't always what we want to be doing, but we would rather do it before an
Absolutely.
event than afterwards. And we will see you
Thank
in
you.
October at the Arc of Safety Forum.
Thank you so much.
Deborah Williams, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys, you had a great opportunity to get some information that is going to be extremely useful to you in the future. Hopefully for you to be able to give to someone in a faraway place that has a disaster and they need your information. But more than likely it's going to come up to where you and I are going to be depending on each other to save each other. I'm recommending that you do what you can do to be as physically strong as possible and mentally strong as possible, and I promise I'll do the same. See you, hopefully not at a disaster, but if so, let's be ready.